I'm so glad you could make it. Sit down, sit down. Oh, yeah. Oh, the band is gonna be awesome tonight. I dig it.
Hey, welcome back to Therapy Sessions. That's THAIRAPY Sessions. I'm your host, Auntie Hair Coach, and I interview regular people telling real stories about their beauty industry journey.
I'm so glad you could make it.
Hey, welcome back to Therapy Sessions. I'm your host, Auntie Hair Coach, and I help stylists discover your unique brand and use it to disrupt the beauty industry. Today, we have a special guest. Her name is Barbette Edwards, and she's visiting us from Tacoma, Washington. Hey, Barbette, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we're going to jump right in. First things first, my listeners like to know who they're dealing with. So would you just please share who you are? Where did you grow up? How did you grow up? Tell us about
I
yourself.
will. Okay, so my name is Barbette Jackson Edwards. I am a stylist of 38 years, and I am from Washington, a lifetime Washingtonian. I grew up in Eastern Washington, a small town on the Yakima Indian Reservation. It's called White Swan. So we were the only Black family out there, but it was just a great upbringing. I had my parents. I have two older sisters, one who's passed away now, and a younger brother. And so that's where I'm from. I graduated high school there, came to the big city of Seattle, and went to beauty school. And now I reside in Tacoma.
Okay. So you're the first stylist I've ever interviewed who grew up on an Indian reservation. How do you become the only Black family on an Indian reservation?
Well, my parents are from the South. My dad is from Mississippi. My mom is from Florida. My dad did not want to raise us in the South. He wanted just different opportunities for us. And so they moved from the South to the far Pacific Northwest. So that's how we got to Washington. Um, and
Okay.
he had a job over at the Job Corps Center. So that's where I grew
Okay.
up, which is on the Yakima Indian Reservation, and very small, very community orientated. And it was a beautiful place to grow up. I never thought I would move to the big city because I always grew up
Mhm.
in a small town. So it was much different coming over here than it was living over there. I thought I would never ever do it. Now I don't know that I would go back, but I certainly appreciate my roots from there.
That's awesome. Did you always want to be a hairstylist?
Well, not always. I toyed with a lot of different things, but actually, when I was about 15, we had a career planning course at school that we had to do at a freshman in high school, and we had to start exploring different opportunities, what we thought what we would be when we grew up. And so I started exploring the hair care, the beauty industry, and it was basically a big research paper that we had to do. We had to figure out where you go to school, how much your schooling would cost, how long you're going to have to go to school, what the salaries were. And so it was an extensive research project on that. And that's when I became interested in it. And then I started cutting hair. My friends at school, and they would buy me lunch at Skookum's, which it was called, the only fast food restaurant in town. And that's how I started, is when I was 15, doing hair.
Okay, and you said you've been a stylist for, did you say 38 years?
38 years. Yes. Graduated in
Amazing.
1983. I came to Seattle and went to Seattle Central in 1983 to 85. And I've been doing hair ever since. So 38
Wow,
years now.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. When did you fall in love with the beauty industry? Because you clearly love it to have been in it for 38 years. That's a lifetime.
It is a lifetime. It's so different now from when I started. So um, I would say When I started doing hair and when I started getting to know people and the industry, and I had great instructors and they had such a love for it because they were teaching it, then I began to fall in love with it and all the possibilities that came with it, of not just standing behind the chair but what you could do behind the chair, because our family's always been built on relationship and community, and that's what I wanted to do in
Yeah,
whatever job I chose.
yeah. And that's the foundation of this industry, right? Relationships and community. And if you
It
don't have those two
is.
things, you are not successful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have kind
Absolutely.
of an interesting story about the beauty school that you went to, right? Could you tell me that you
Yes. So in the career planning course that we took, I researched a school in Seattle area, and at that time we did have counselors, that kind of helped you navigate. And I didn't seek that help out, but I just knew I was going to go to this particular school. So I come to Seattle, and the school is not open anymore. It has closed down. So I have moved over here. I'm like, okay. My parents are looking at me like, what's going on? What's happening? What have you not planned? Because
yeah,
they give
yeah,
you the roots, and you're supposed to fly with it. And so I get here, and I'm not enrolled. I'm not ready for school, and I have like 2 months before we're starting, if that. So in the course of all of that, my parents had a friend who had a friend who had a friend who um, knew somebody at the community college where I ended up attending cosmetology at Seattle Central, and they called in a
okay.
favor.
Hey, it
So
helps to
that's
know
where I started.
people.
It helps to know
Okay, so you
people and building that.
absolutely. So now you graduate cosmetology school. What's the first job that you took when you graduated school?
My first job was Glimby International. At the time, it was called the Bon Marché. And Glenby International was located inside the Bon Marché, which is now Macy's. That was back in 1985. That was my very first job. And so it was a great start because Glenby International was an international company. They did a lot of education, a lot of classes. They were they had a union. I was the shop steward union rep. I had no idea what I was doing. But that was a very good learning experience for me. Um, they chose me because no one else wanted to do it, not because I knew anything. So, but it was a great learning experience. And the other good thing about being at that company is that, I had healthcare insurance, and that was really important to me. So that was my very
That's hard to
first job,
find in
and
this
I learned a
industry.
lot. It is. It
Yeah.
is.
How
So
long
I
were
was
you
happy
there?
about that. I was there for 3 years. I was there for three
Okay.
years. hmm
Okay. And then what made you leave and where did you decide to go?
So after those 3 years, the Bon Marché at that time turned into Macy's. They were doing a complete remodel, changing the name to Macy's and all that. So everything was going to be shut down. The beauty salon was going to be shut down, and we were all the 23 stylists that were there were needing to find a new home. So most everybody in the city knew that. So they had a lot of recruiters come in. So I was recruited to a new salon that was being built in the Columbia Tower, which at that time was the largest building west of the Mississippi, big, tall, black building downtown Seattle. And I remember the owner came in, she got her hair cut. She kind of did an interview with me, just kind of see how I worked and everything. Her sister came in, her brother came in, and they hired me. And that was my next job. And I thought, oh my God, this is really cool. I'm in this really prestigious, nice building. But more than that, the owners of this salon were the ultimate professionals, and they knew how to build a clientele, how to show stylists what to do. So I was very, very blessed in
Mhm.
finding the right mentor at a very young age.
And that matters so much. having a
Yeah.
mentor and just someone to walk you through, because I know when I graduated, I always say cosmetology is very similar to the public school system in that the focus seems to be, or at least the one that I went to, the focus was on you need to pass the state board.
Right.
Now, some of that is on me because I was kind of a terrible student, I'll admit. I definitely skipped class more than I did my practical stuff.
I
Um,
understand.
but just keeping it real.
Right,
Um,
right.
but but the fact that I'm still in this industry 27 years later is a testament to the first salon that I worked at too, where I had a
Yeah.
manager who was invested in making sure that I was successful. And had I not had her as a mentor, I don't know that I would still be doing this. This is not an easy industry to be
Right,
in,
right.
right?
Yes. Well, make no mistake, I was
Okay.
not looking for a mentor, and I probably was not
Okay.
the best student either. Um, and looking back, she was a great mentor. I was a little cocky because I had a great clientele being
Mm.
built from Macy's, the bond, and so that's one of the reasons they recruited me. So that was a growth thing. I didn't start out a wonderful student either.
I mean, yeah, self-awareness is good. And we've
Right?
all been there. I think every single, especially when you've been doing it this long, you definitely hit that moment where I'm the bomb.com. I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? And
Right. Yes.
it will also humble you though.
Yes, indeed.
Um,
Indeed.
so in my research for you, I took a look at your Instagram page. I always go to people's Instagram pages
Yep.
first.
Hmm.
And the number one thing that I took away from that is that you are very, very family oriented,
I am. Yes.
and looking at your page. Now, anybody who knows a hairstylist and who loves a hairstylist knows that this industry can take all of your time and energy, right? Like
Yes.
we have to learn boundaries or it will take over your entire life.
Right.
You described to me creating and enforcing boundaries as one of your biggest industry challenges. And as family oriented as you are, I'm just curious how that translated. So talk to me a bit, I guess, about that.
Okay, so that was a definite work in progress. I'm married. I have two children. My children are grown now, but they are 30 and 28. So I'm going to take you a little bit back before I move forward because after I left Salon Columbia, I was there for 3 years, but then I got married and I moved to another salon that I was an independent contractor for the first time. And so during that, and we ended up buying that salon. It was up for sale when I moved there. Did not know that at the time, and then it was like, oh my god, I don't want to move again. Can I do this? So we decided to purchase the salon. It was a tanning and hair salon, which was new to me. I don't tan, but established clientele already. So we owned that salon for 7 years, but in the midst of that, we're married, and now I have my first baby, and then we have our second child, and now you start to think about what you want your family to look like. And as much as I love the salon industry, I would want to always put my family first. And anyway, decided to try to learn how to create boundaries, but my kids were getting ready to start school. Didn't really know how to do that. Didn't know how to make that work, where I would feel comfortable enough with the salon and working with the kids and all of that. So we didn't own the salon anymore. So I went to independent contracting. And so in that, I learned to probably create the boundaries based on how I wanted my life to look. And learning how to say no is really difficult in the industry when you're trying to build clientele. So, and in our industry, the Saturdays, that's our money making days. And that's what I thought then. But as I got older and now I realize, okay, I'm still only one person working on all of these people, and creating those boundaries early and saying, okay, what days are going to work for me. So it's taken me probably till about 10 years ago to get those boundaries very, very clear. So my hope, as I come out of the industry, is to teach younger stylists to create the boundaries early. Always put your family first, because those those memories will never come back. You will never get that time back. And take some Saturdays off. Take some weekends off.
Okay, so you said something kind of interesting there. I personally love to work Saturdays. I work a 4-day week, but Saturdays is one of them. It's a short day, but I just like Saturdays. But
Mhm.
my children are also grown. Our kids are roughly the same ages. And so I've just got my husband at home, and he's watching football on Saturdays. He doesn't care.
Right.
Uh,
I understand.
so but I know there's a ton of stylists out there. I hear quite often about stylists not working Saturdays. And I know there's a lot of stylists out there that would like to hear more about that. Can you share kind of, I mean, it sounds like family time was a big reason why you chose to take Saturdays off, but I guess share kind of your thought process behind taking Saturdays off, and then how do you break this to your clients, and what's their response when you tell them you're no longer available on Saturdays?
Well, that was a long time coming. I just only in the last 5 years stopped working Saturdays. And so I just started doing it gradually. And because I always try to build a relationship with another stylist that I can always refer to if I'm not in the salon. So I can refer that way. But it was a gradual thing. It didn't happen all at once, because I had my Saturday clientele. That was my biggest day. And because I was missing some of my daughter's soccer games, or I'd get up early. I'd be in the salon at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. Then I'd go to a soccer game, and then I'd come back, and I was just exhausted, and there was not a good work-life balance. And so I knew I would have to change something and do something different. I would go to the soccer games, and, they say, oh, we missed you last week. And then I'd feel like a bad mom, and, things like that. Or, my son was doing something, and I'd miss that, or I'd kept part of it, and there was just not a balance. And so I was feeling just completely unbalanced. So, it was a decision to do that for myself, to not run myself down, because I know I was going to be in the industry for quite some time, and I didn't want to, you know, work, mess my body up and stuff by doing all that running. And then, so it was a gradual change. So it was, let's say I worked 4 Saturdays or 5 Saturdays a month, depending on the month. Then maybe I would take a Saturday off, especially if it was a 5 week Saturday in a month. Maybe I'd take that Saturday off, but that came with definite planning, because I book 3 to 6 months in advance. So it was really sitting down, making an effort to see what I wanted it to look like, and really planning it out. And then that way I could give my customers ample time to do something different. They would still come back to me, but they would just know in advance. And so it took a long time to just I didn't go from working every Saturday for 25 years to no Saturdays at all. So it was a pretty gradual
Sure,
change. Yeah.
sure. Did you
They
lose
they they handled
customers?
it well. I did lose
Okay,
some, and what I had to let that go, because it's not losing a customer, it's gaining time with family. And so I
absolutely.
that's what I had to how I had to look at it. Changing the mindset.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Not losing a
Yeah,
customer, it's gaining time with family. I love that.
yeah. And then the other thing was, being able to refer your most precious clients to one of your best coworkers, or best um, partner in the business, is such an honor to me, to be able to do that, to be able to still service your client in that way, even though you're not standing behind them in the chair, but to honor your other, your fellow stylists in that. That's the greatest compliment anyone could give, is to refer a friend or family member to somebody that you know, like, and trust.
So you mentioned to me in our pre-interview that you lost your mom recently. And I know as a stylist, when you're dealing with your customers on a day to day, they love us, but they don't really care, right, about what's going on in our personal life. There's this need to always be on, right? And
Right.
to make it all about them. How do you, when you've just lost your mom, because I can't imagine what that feels like, how do you go to the salon and deal with grief while still being on for your customers?
Well, yeah, this is still very new to me because I lost my mom June 29th of this year. Um, I am still getting my footing, and finding a new normal without her being here and present in my life here. Um, but my mom was such a rock for our family, and she lived her life fully. And I think I am coping okay because I know who I am and I know who she was and who what she instilled in me. Um, every day is a gift from God, and so she has always told us to just make the most of the gift. And if you're going through troubling times, reach out to someone else because they're hurting too. And when you reach out and you're helping somebody else, even though you have to take care of yourself in your own grief, it does make you feel better when you're helping someone else. But as I'm standing behind the chair, when I get up in the morning, and some days you don't want to get up, I just remember that they chose me. They chose me. They chose me to spend their time. They chose me to um, trust them with their hair, and that they are taking the time out, because I know a lot of times if I make an appointment, I don't really feel like going. I don't want to not show up, but sometimes you just don't feel like it. But every day I think, okay, they chose me, so I'm going to show up for them. And my mom taught us to show up for people, especially those who have supported you in your business. My mom was an entrepreneur. She had a daycare for 27 years. And that's the community she built as well. And so I worked at the daycare during the summers, and there's so much of her in me that I'm just grateful, because the summers that I worked there, it helped me so much in my business. I didn't realize it, because we would teach the kids. We would have class with them every day. We took them outside and they played and they had crafts, and then they would have nap time. And when they got up from their naps, everybody had their own brush with their name on it. And we made sure the kids looked good, and we combed their hair every day after nap time. And because we wanted them to look presentable, they brush their teeth after lunch, and we wanted them to look good for their parents when they came home. And we had class time. These kids, they knew their names, they knew their phone numbers, they knew who they were before they got to kindergarten. And so those are the things that she instilled in me, but mostly she instilled the community in me. So dealing with grief behind the chair, and a lot of my clients knew my mom, and they do ask questions about it, but I want to shout to everybody that's in my chair, my mom died and you don't understand. But, many of them have
Yeah.
gone through it as well. And so there are times that I might zone out and I'm like, okay, get on back, get on back. And there's moments that I have to step away, because they will hit you at any given moment. And I'm just grateful that I'm at the point in my career where I am able to step away sometimes, and they understand. And it's okay to be your authentic self. It's okay to cry. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to share with them sometimes. But then you always do have to bring the focus back to them, because that's why they are there. So it's been difficult, but you have to learn to just take the moments as they come.
Okay, so I know that you mentioned to me before that you are retiring soon. And that's just
Yes.
something you rarely hear in the beauty industry. You rarely hear someone retiring from the industry, right? And more than
Right.
once, I've heard people in their 70s and 80s still doing hair, and that just makes my bones hurt to think about.
Doesn't
Um,
it?
and,
Yeah.
and I
Ow.
love what I do. And if I felt like I was still 22, like I was when I started, I would do it forever. But the reality is,
Right.
our bodies deteriorate, and it's hard on us. So,
Yes.
share with us a little bit about your exit strategy. How does one retire from the beauty industry?
Okay, so I am going to be retiring from behind the chair. So I won't be doing hair behind the chair anymore, and I'm going into salon development and coaching. But so I'll still be in the beauty industry, but being behind the chair for 38 years is a lot. And I jotted some things down because I didn't want to forget some things. But we've been planning my retirement for the last 15 plus or 25 plus years. We started with a financial planner and a great tax accountant. Well, because I bought my salon when I was 25 years old. And so God had blessed me with the right people in my path, and I did listen. Not always, but I did listen to people who I respected in the business and liked, and they were so helpful in that area. And so we started the planning of beginning with the end in mind when I was very young. And so that's the hope for the younger stylists and even stylists now to be ready for retirement, because we can't stand behind the chair a long time. So I did have a good financial planner, had a great tax accountant. Our bodies change, we get older, along with the repetition and all of that. But I started ramping it down. And as you ramp down, as you get into your senior years of, being in this industry, you you start needing less and less. And once you start, maybe maybe you're working a 5 days, 6 day work week, but then maybe you're going to 5 days, then you're going to 4 days, and then you start adjusting. And so it's a gradual process of adjusting your income. And so that's taken me some time to do that. And so it's just a process of vamping down in increments, and really saving and putting away. And I don't know a ton about it, but I know people who know a ton about it. My husband is an economics
Hmm.
major. He's a numbers guy. I love that the systems that we have now available to us um, are really focusing on the numbers, and we really have to do that in this industry. So that's how I've always done it. I always
Hmm.
began with the end in mind, because I knew I couldn't stand behind the chair
Hmm.
forever.
And what's next for you?
So my next move is salon development and coaching. So my whole goal is to, create some more classes for students and stylists, salon owners, entrepreneurs, to begin with the end in mind, and to basically create more of a network of people who can help people in this industry really start thinking about what it looks like when you're not behind the chair, how you're building that clientele, and really keeping those records really good, because it's really about the community and who you know and how you can help each other. So that in the salon development and coaching, we're really talking about building businesses, customer service, compliance, which sometimes as entrepreneurs we have a hard time with the compliance area, because we're so crafty and we're just entrepreneurial spirited, and that part of it is really not that fun for us. We like to do the
Uh,
the creative part, the creative side of it.
So we've reached the part of our session where it's called Story Time with Auntie Hair Coach. So I'll give you three prompts and you just choose one, or some people do all three. It's up to you how talkative you're feeling today. I'll give you
Okay.
three prompts and you're just going to tell me a story based on at least one of these prompts. So the first prompt is, tell us about a time that you ruined someone's hair. The
Okay.
second prompt is tell us the best beauty advice you've ever gotten. And the third prompt is tell us the worst beauty advice you've ever gotten.
Okay. So I did think about these. Thank you for giving me these. So the first one, tell me about a time you ruined someone's hair. It wasn't ruined, but it was damaged. So I was at the Bon Marché, which is Macy's now, Glenby International. I was fresh out of beauty school. In beauty school, we had very, very little time with bleaching and toning and all that. So this lady comes in, young lady, she's probably not 20 yet, and she's got dyed hair that's black, black, black. Well, she wants to go, like a light, light brown. And I was like, oh, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. I got my license. And I realized that when I put her color on, it wasn't lifting. It wasn't doing anything. Some of it lifted, some of it didn't. And then there was a lady that I worked with. Like I said, we had 23 stylists in a salon. So I'm running around looking for somebody who can help me. And so she starts helping me. And she says, oh, you can use this Metalax. And I had never used Metalax before. Didn't even know what it was. Oh, yeah, this just strips the color out. Anyway, we did that. And I'm putting it on her hair. And her hair is like steaming. It's melting. And I'm like, oh, my God. So I rinse it off immediately, and now she's got light brown hair, she's got black hair, she's got, red hair. It's just like a complete mess. So we ended up toning, and then the lady had to leave. She couldn't even help finish, not the lady, not my customer, but the lady who was helping me. She had to leave, and I was stuck there, and I toned it, and it was decent, but I did not see her again. The customer. So
imagine that.
It was, yeah.
You melted her hair. It's fine.
That was horrible. That was horrible. What was the other question? Best industry advice? Is that what you asked me?
Mm-hmm.
Best industry advice I ever got was, just keeping your family first, because again, you just never get those times back. Your other one was the worst industry advice you got. I think I talked about the Saturdays already. Just work-life balance. Don't let your customers tell you how how you should live your life, and let them work around your schedule a little bit more than you always working around them, because you are one person working with a lot of people, and most of the time they can juggle their schedule to accommodate you. But we tend to always juggle our schedule to accommodate them, and that is not sustainable.
Absolutely. That's so valid. Barbette, what's the most important part of your story today?
I think the most important part of my story is about building community and building people up and growth, and really just I feel like I'm so blessed to be in this profession, because I have met so many of my really good, true ride or die friends. I have walked them through many things, many of the milestones of their life, their births, their deaths, their anniversaries, their weddings, their celebrations, and them me. They have been there for me. And so it's just a mutual respect. And I feel like this is something that I have created. I mean, they know my family, they know my kids. My son recently graduated from college, and, they feel like they know them. My kids don't know them as much as they think they know, that my clients think they know them. But
Absolutely.
I think building that community, yeah, it's the greatest joy, and it's something that you can create. It's something that every stylist can create.
Yes, and should.
Okay.
So final question. You get to talk to baby Barbette. She's just graduated from cosmetology school, and she's about to go out into the industry and take it by storm. What advice do you have for her?
Be true to who you are. God gave us 2 ears to listen, 1 mouth to speak. So listen first and speak slowly and think about your responses, but always keep your customers' confidentiality and don't speak behind other people. When your next client comes in, you're not talking about your last client and you're just keeping that confidence. So there's a mutual respect in your business. And when people trust you and they trust you with their life secrets and their what they're going through, they need to know that it's not going anywhere. And I learned that from my mom and my dad. They were the best keeper of secrets. So,
Where can the audience catch up with you if they'd like to know more about you?
Barbette.edwards@gmail.com. Or you can call me, leave me a message. I'll call you back. My number is 206-914-4669. Or on my Gloss Genius page, that's my booking system, barbetteedwards.glossgenius.com/. So you can find me there, and you can also book a session there on my page.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to share before we wrap up, Barbette?
I just want to share that I love this industry. I will probably always be a part of this industry until I die. My next chapter is stepping from behind the chair, but I just want to share with other entrepreneurs and stylists, just what I know, and that this is a life that you can lead. And I would like to share that we have to be careful about how we speak about ourselves and what we say about ourselves, and just really keep uplifting this business and not saying I'm just a hairdresser, I'm just this, I'm just that. I am a stylist, I am a business entrepreneur, and people will believe what you say when it comes out of your mouth. So thank you so much for having me. This was absolutely
Thank you for
enlightening.
joining me.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really grateful for your generosity with your time. It's been a pleasure to finally get to speak with you a little bit and get to know you. I always see you in passing on
Yes.
Gloss Genius. So yeah, it's been fun. I appreciate you.
Oh, well, we will definitely be in touch. And I love the name Auntie Hair Coach. I'm like, oh, that was such a great name. We will
Thank you
definitely
so much.
collaborate, hopefully, on some other things.
Yes, ma'am. Bet on it. Thanks so much for listening. If you're a beauty pro with a story to tell, or you have a stylist you'd like to hear from, you can DM me via IG at Auntie Hair Coach, or use the Contact Me form on tasha-davis.com. Or if you're feeling really spicy, send an audio message in Spotify. Whether you loved it or hated it, please leave a rating, like, and or follow, because it does something fancy with the algorithm. I'm Auntie Hair Coach. Ta-ta for now.
Wow. Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you could make it.